Crypto hacking wasn't as profitable last year, according to our next guest. $1.7 billion was stolen from January through November, but in 2022, the yearly total was more than double that, at about $4 billion. To talk about why, let's welcome Ari Redbord, Head of Legal and Government Affairs at TRM Labs. We also want to ask him about crypto regulations in 2024, but let's start with that hacking news. Ari, I'm interested in, you monitored this activity. Why was there a decline, at least in successful hacks?
First of all, thank you so much for having me, and Happy New Year. Yeah, really interesting data on hacks this year. 2022, as you mentioned, was a record-setting year for hacks. We saw about 4 billion in hacks from the crypto ecosystem, much of that perpetrated by North Korea cyber actors, including the largest ever hack, the $625 million hack on the Ronin Bridge. But 2023 has been very different. We saw about half that volume in hacks, about 1.7 billion. And there are a number of potential reasons for that. First, we've seen better cybersecurity from decentralized finance protocols and other types of services. We've seen aggressive law enforcement action to go after the laundering services used by cyber criminals, such as mixers. Sinbad was a mixer that was recently sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department. That was a go-to mixer for North Korea hackers. And finally, we've seen, I think, in many respects, the crypto industry coming together to build out cybersecurity, to take action. Remember, one of the keys for hackers in laundering the funds is taking those funds and off-ramping them into the real world, moving them into usable currencies. And better cybersecurity and better compliance controls on those on and off ramps at the exchanges has been critical in stopping the laundering piece of these crypto hacks. So good news in 2023. We'll see what happens as we move into 2024.
Now, I mean, just to get into exactly how those numbers shake out, prices were also down last year, right? So, I mean, is it the dollar value partly a result of the fact that they're just, each coin was less valuable, or were there actually fewer thefts in general?
Sure, yeah. The crypto, sort of the value of different cryptocurrency obviously plays a role here. But honestly, cyber criminals are still aggressively attacking the crypto ecosystem. And I think that sort of you're still seeing about the same number of hacks perpetrated, but not those huge numbers like we were in 2022. We were seeing a series of what we called 10 mega hacks, which were those in the hundreds of millions. And while some of that obviously is driven by the price of the different currencies, including Bitcoin, you're still seeing cyber actors, North Korea, attack the crypto ecosystem. So price plays a role, but likely a smaller role in sort of this type of data.
And what's your view on where crypto regulation lies? We've been talking about this vigil that's been underway for a long time for the approval finally of Bitcoin ETFs from large providers. There's some excitement in the market about that. Now, whether that'll change how people really engage to what degree with crypto, it remains to be seen. But where are we trending toward? Because there really are some factions, even of U.S. regulatory authorities, that are somewhat just hostile in general to the build out of this infrastructure.
There's a lot going on in this space right now. I think one thing we forget is, look, 2023 began in the wake of the fallout from FTX. We forget that was only about a year or so ago, just given how much that case and the ecosystem and everything that's gone on has played out. So 2023 started in the wake of FTX, but really what we started to see, at least globally, is consistent standards develop across the world. We saw finally the passage of MiCA, the marketing crypto assets legislation in the European Union, which has provided regulatory clarity to crypto businesses looking to engage with member states there. We've seen activity in Singapore and Australia and the UK. So we've seen a lot of activity. I think where we've seen sort of more focus on enforcement is obviously in the United States, and we will likely continue to see some of that into 2024. It is important to note that even in the U.S., where I think we've been much slower in terms of the regulatory space, we've seen every branch of government in 2023 engage in the crypto ecosystem, whether it's the legislative body with for the first time ever, crypto legislation being voted out of committee in the House of Representatives on stablecoins and market structure. We've seen the courts obviously engage in the space. And then obviously the executive branch has taken action, whether it's the Treasury Department, the CFTC, or the SEC. So we've seen a lot of activity, and we're going to continue to see that in 2024. On the ETF issue, it's a really interesting and really important one on a couple levels. First of all, it's going to take the friction out of the investing process for a lot of consumers who are looking to engage in the space, who are looking to buy Bitcoin, but don't want to do it on an exchange. And will have that opportunity. But most importantly, it'll really be a recognition by both regulators and institutions that this space is here to stay. And it's something that is worth regulating, worth engaging with, and ultimately will be part of a broader economic ecosystem.
Ari, the other big scandal in Bitcoin or crypto last year was, of course, Binance and the settlement that CZ struck with Justice, Treasury, the CFTC. As part of that, it sounds like Treasury and Justice and maybe the CFTC will be able to, I guess, have access to Binance's internal plumbing to help monitor laundering. Do you think that will be significant? Do you think that will also help sort of bring down the amount of hacks and money that goes to hackers in 2024?
Yeah, no, it's a really interesting question. And, you know, I mentioned that the year began with FTX and how really different that case was than the Binance case, right? Binance now is in a world where there's a resolution. There's a settlement with the Justice Department and the Treasury Department and others that allows the company to build out its compliance controls and essentially move forward. And really that data will play a role in it. I think one thing sort of I mentioned in the hacks context is one thing we've seen over the last few years is really centralized exchanges, particularly the large exchanges out there, Coinbase and Binance and others, have really built out compliance controls. And that has been a large part of keeping those hacked and stolen funds on the blockchain. So we're already seeing, crypto businesses, financial institutions use compliance tools like TRM to ensure that bad actors are not able to use their platforms to off-ramp funds. And we'll continue to see more of that. And the Binance settlement will be a part of that, another piece of that puzzle.